One. Welcome to a special episode of No Touch Screens. My name is Adeyemi Adesanya, and today I have my very good friend, international Syria journalist and reporter Nima Tavale Rodzari. Nima, welcome to No Touch Screens Syria Outlook. How are you doing today?
I'm good, thanks. Good to be with you. How are you?
Not bad, not bad. It's good to talk to you again.
Good to
Thanks for
talk with
the
you.
last time you were our guest to talk to your Nigerian audience. So let's get into it very quickly. What has been your thoughts so far with Game One? You know, us seeing through Game One of the new Serie A season.
I was a couple of things. I think the main talking points were Victor Osimhen at Napoli. I think he was phenomenal. The he will definitely be a great help to them, and I think he will be their new superstar. I think he will become a superstar at Napoli. It's incredible how important he's already become to how they attack depth. Um, and how the skill sets he possesses will cause teams a lot of problems in the Serie A. So very impressed with him and Napoli as a whole, who I think will are as things stand. They're one of the main, for me. They're one of the main candidates to win the Serie A, to win the Scudetto.
To
When I
actually win,
Yes, absolutely. I think
wow.
they're not the favorites, but they're definitely one of the contenders. I think when I look at that squad and I look at the 4-3-3 or the 4-2-3-1 that Gattuso wants to play, I see two players in every position that are of good quality, and
Mm.
they will definitely go for that Serie A title this season. And Gattuso is a good tactician, no matter what people on social media say. He is a fantastic and he's a very good tactician. He understands the game, and he's built. He's worked wonders with Napoli since taking over there. Not even 7-8 months ago. So no, I believe in this Napoli. So the second point, Andrea Pirlo. Very impressive debut for Juve and his and Pirlo. Very interesting to see how they play. Tactically, it was modern. It was fresh. The way that he plays, the way that he wants to play based on this game is a very modern form of football, which is adapted to Italian football with an Italian flavor to it, and I think, or twist to it. And I think I was not that worried that Pirlo wouldn't be able to handle the job at Juve because it's Andrea Pirlo. Andrea Pirlo was already a coach when he was playing, but he was playing on the pitch. So I'm not surprised at all. Dejan Kulusevski, another fantastic debut for him. They're going to be, the Juve are going to be there. It's Juve and Napoli are the ones that stand out for me the most.
Hmm. Hmm. For the Nigerian audience, a lot of us were worried at first when we didn't see Osimhen in the starting lineup. But then we then said, okay, well, it's a new team. The manager wants to get used to him. It's going to try to ease him in very nicely. And it's nice to hear you put out such glowing comments about him, thinking that he would make a huge impact with this Napoli team.
Oh, there's no doubt. I mean, if you look at what he did and what he offered when he came on, I mean, I wouldn't be worried at all by the fact that he wasn't, by the fact that he didn't start. I think that's to be expected, given that it was the first game of the season. It was away. There's, Parma. No one knows where they have each other in terms of form, and I think it would have been it would have been, I don't read too much into it, the fact that Victor Osimhen didn't start. I think the fact that he came on and changed the game speaks much more louder than anything else. I mean, if you look at the preseason comments from players and coach, they're very impressed by Victor Osimhen. They think he's absolutely brilliant, and they're very impressed with what they've seen in training. So I'm not worried about that at all. There's no doubt in my mind that he will start next game. And I think that he will be. No, I think Victor Osimhen is going to be an attraction to watch in the Serie A this season. No doubt about it.
How many goals do you think he can get in his first season?
Oof. That's very difficult to understand to reply. But I'd say, but I mean, based on the skill sets he has, I'd say he could easily get 15, 20 goals in the Serie A without a shadow of a doubt. I wouldn't be surprised by that at all, if not more. He you know. He has skill sets that usually do well in the Serie A. He's technical. He's fast. He's difficult to mark. He has a low center of gravity, which makes he shifts his weight very easily. So no, I expect him to cause all sorts of problems. But we have to remember that he's not alone. He's surrounded by some very good players as well, who also, like Insigne, who also demand attention, which means that he'll get a little bit more time on the ball, which I think would be devastating to teams and will be devastating to teams.
Okay, so let's talk about Pirlo's Juventus. It was very nice to see the way they started. I think that when they have Delete back in that back three, they will be a very difficult team to break down. I like the look of Winston McKinney and Rabiot together in central midfield. And surprisingly, Ramsey was quite impressive in Pirlo's first game. You mentioned Kulusevski. I think that young boy will. Last season was his breakout season, more or less. But my worry is what happens when they sign Dzeko and Dybala comes back into the team.
They're not going to sign Edin Dzeko. They're signing Alvaro Morata. They're not going to sign Edin Dzeko. I'd be very, very surprised since they don't have any money to sign him. So the money is being spent on Alvaro Morata, who is cheaper. So I don't see how they'd sign him after having spent 44 million on Dejan Kulusevski as well. Also, they have to, they're going to offload. They've offloaded Higuain and Matuidi, and they need to offload Sami Khedira. So I don't see how you are going to bring in Edin Dzeko. To me, that deal is over now with the arrival of Alvaro Morata. As for Andrea Pirlo and suiting Dybala, look, Max Allegri was a pragmatic coach. Maurizio Sarri was an ideologue. Andrea Pirlo strikes to me as a pragmatic ideologue. He can play 4-3-3, 4-3-1-2, 4-2-3-1, 3-5-2, 3-4-1-2. It doesn't matter.
4-4-2 at some point.
Maybe, I doubt that, but maybe, depends. But the thing is, with him, it's not about that. For him, if you read his thesis as well, the important thing for him is to have 5 players in and around the opposition's box when attacking. The way to get there is less important. It's about getting there, and he's very tactically flexible like that. So that's what I mean. That's what I mean when I say he's a pragmatic ideologue. For him, the most important thing is to reach his goal. How he reaches there. So he has an identity of how he wants to play, but how he reaches it is something else. And he will. I think there's no problem here. I mean, I don't see any issue. Alvaro Morata will probably be used as he's not a traditional number 9 either. But he's been at Juve. He's done it before. I personally think Edin Dzeko would have been better for them, because I think Edin Dzeko would have done a job for Ronaldo the same way Benzema did for Ronaldo at Real Madrid. Yeah. And if you add in Dejan Kulusevski to that mix, then I think you would have had the two of them would have done a job similar to what Wayne Rooney and Carlos Tevez did for Ronaldo at Man United. I think Ronaldo might harm a little bit from not having those two. Now he's only got one, but maybe Alvaro Morata can give him that. I don't know what Pirlo's thinking. It remains to be seen. But I'm not surprised by. But I am a little bit surprised they didn't go after Dzeko. I think at the end of the day, because of how that deal hinged on on Arkadiusz Milik and Napoli and the problems he's having with Aurelio De Laurentiis and fines and image rights and all that, I think Juve just said, you know what, screw this. Let's make it easy. Let's make life easier for ourselves, and just sign a player who knows the club and who's been here. But I mean, there's no doubt that I think Edin Dzeko, given his work rate and experience, would have suited Juve much better.
What happens to Kulusevski when you mentioned Alvaro Morata comes in? With the balance, there's a potential that they play a 3-point attack. What happens to the young man with his time? With impressive debut, but will his time be limited in the starting lineup with the
No,
introduction of Morata
no,
and the Bala
no,
community.
no, 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 not at all. Because he can play in so many positions. He can play as a winger. He can play as a central midfielder. He can play as a number 10. That's the thing with Kulusevski. He has so many skill sets that make him so usable, and that make him so usable in so many different roles. He's very versatile in that sense. So I don't see any issue there at all. And personally, I think I don't want to see him on a wing. I want to see him in the middle of the pitch because that's where he thinks he's at his best. That's what he's on the record saying, that he wants to play as a trequartista. That's his best role, and I think he could. I really do think so. So no, I'm not worried at all. I think Dejan Kulusevski won't suffer at all.
Let's talk about the three newly promoted teams. Benevento with people Inzaghi, I'm actually really looking forward to seeing them. Crotone, who have a Nigerian, who was a top scorer, and he was at the World Cup in 2018 with Nigeria, Simeon Kwo, and Spezia, who also somehow have a bit of a Nigerian link as well, because the owner is can I call him a Nigerian Italian, or is he an Italian Nigerian? Do you think the three of them can survive?
I think Crotone and Spezia are going down. I think they're going down without a trace. They're going to sink. Because the quality of the squads are simply not good enough, and Stroppa is not a good enough coach at Crotone. Spezia was a miracle, the fact that they are in the Serie A, and therefore I don't see them doing really well either. But Benevento is a different story, because Benevento have been building over a long period of time, and they've got a coach. It's really make or break for Filippo Inzaghi now. If he fails now, he will be the guy who lifts teams from the Serie B to the Serie A for the next 5-10 years, or he'll leave the Italy and
Like
go abroad, or go
like
abroad.
like the guy in the Premier League. His name eludes me now. I think he has a record for most promoted teams to the Premier League. I can't
Yeah,
remember his name. He's at Middlesbrough now, by the way. You go on. I'm sure I'll remember his name.
No, basically, Benevento have really gone out, have really made some important investments and brought in some experienced players to stabilize in the Serie A, and I think that they will. I think they will be in and around the relegation battle, but I do expect them to kind of be the best performing newcomer out of those three that you mentioned. I don't know. It's too soon to say who. With the Mercato not having closed, and to make any predictions as to who will win, who will finish in the top 4, who will finish in the top 7, who will go down. But other than Spezia and Crotone going down, the rest I think will be between Udine. That third spot will be between Benevento, Parma, and Udinese, because I think Parma, don't underestimate the fact that when you have a new owner, a new sporting director, and a new coach, things are very, very muddled and unclear at that club.
Yeah. I was also very happy that they decided to go with Liverani, who didn't have that much of a good season last time out. It was,
Yeah, I mean,
it was a
we'll
bit
see.
of
I mean, Liverani did well at Lecce in terms of attacking wise. I think that's what they brought him on, because he's a young coach, and they want to give him in coaching terms, they wanted to give him a chance. And I think that doesn't need to fail, but the club needs to find its structure, needs to find its feet, needs to understand what's going on, who's doing what, who's doing where. The American owner, Richard Krause, he's very enthusiastic, but he also has to now run the club. So we'll have to see. But I think Parma will struggle. I hope they stay up, but they do strike me as a little bit disjointed and a little bit unclear on what's going on.
It's interesting. The name I was looking for was actually Neil Warnock. He's at Middlesbrough now.
Neil Warnock, yeah, that's the one.
Yeah,
That's the one.
he's
Yeah.
promoted a ton of teams. Interestingly, last week when we did our preview, funny, Udinese came up in the conversation for those to go down. But my guys didn't like the fact that they don't seem to have a proper project going on in that place. So it's quite ironic that you are also potentially tipping the Udinese as one of the teams that could go down, along with Crotone and Spezia. So interesting. We have to see what happens there. But I think if Parma lose Rodrigo De Paul to Leeds eventually, I think they're done.
Yeah, I think if Udinese strike me as a bit odd. I mean, if Udinese drop, I mean, they've lost Mandragora. If they lose De Paul as well, I think they will go down. And I think it's a bit of a shame because they already have. They're one of the few clubs who have a new stadium that they own, and I hope the Pozzos start, taking an interest again like they used to before. Because I mean, obviously the Premier League, you'll never make as much money as with Watford, but Watford are in the Championship, so they're it seems like they're putting their money eggs in that basket to get them up to the Premier League. And I think it's a shame because the Udinese project, when Pozzos were caring and investing, was a really interesting one.
When they had Göderlin,
Yeah.
I'm sure that's when I'm sure after that time, I think that's probably when they lost interest.
Yeah, when they bought Watford and Watford made it to this Premier League, and then they had Granada, or they still have Granada. I mean, it's a bit, it's a bit of a shame, but I hope so because I like Udinese. I think Udinese are a team that belongs in the Serie A and usually gives young, exciting players a chance. So I hope that they start taking an interest for sure.
Okay, so let's quickly look at the results for the weekend. We've spoken about Juventus already. Sassuolo and Cagliari 1-1. Sassuolo are another team that I really like because of the quality of football that they play, but they can't defend to save their lives.
No,
Uh, Gen- Genoa were impressive in the first game, but again, they were playing against Crotone. So, 4-1 result really looked good. But I think my disappointment was, and I still worry about Roma and the business that they've done. Nil away to Verona. Verona are never an easy team to play anyway. And then Fiorentina winning at home to Torino. Which other result do you think? And of course, your city rivals, Milan winning yesterday, last night, 2-0 at home to Bologna, with Zlatan continuing to defy everything
mm.
and scoring the goals.
No. We'll start with Milan. Milan are a top four team. There's no doubt in my mind. They're going to be They're going to be fighting for the top four. There's no doubt about that. It's because Milan are a team in balance, and they haven't really finished signing yet. I still expect them to make one or two more important signings in defense for sure. But I think for the right wing as well. I mean, they will try to steal Federico Chiesa from Fiorentina, who's being misused and mismanaged. I mean, the kid is 22
Yeah,
years. He's 22 years old. He's 22 years old. He's only ever had one decent coach in Pioli. The rest have been absolute horrible, and he's been played out of position, and he's still delivering points. He is a winger, not a wing back. And at Milan, he will be given the platform and the chance to shine. And I think that the best thing for Italian football, Milan and Chiesa, is for him to leave and go to Milan. As for Roma, I think Roma, aside from the Dzeko mess and the other mess they've created with in terms of the directors not knowing what the hell they're doing, and they might even be deducted points for the game against Verona because of a clerical error for misregistering Diawara as an under 22 player when he isn't. If we disregard the faulty towers aspect of it, they've got actually a good squad. I think they've got a good coach. I think they've got a good team. I think the 3-4-1-2 or the 3-5-2 really suits them, and I think they'll be fighting around fifth, sixth as well. As for Genoa have strengthened severely. Piazza, Badel, Zappacosta, these are good players. And also with Luca Pellegrini coming in, that strengthens their wing as well. They've got a decent coach in Rolando Maran who knows how to keep teams in the middle of the table. So I expect them to do really well, and I expect Mattia Destro to score a lot of goals because he's backed up by Goran Pandev. As for Hellas Verona, I expect them to struggle. They've lost Rahmani, they've lost Kumbula, and they've lost Amrabat. That will hurt any team. But I still, so I think if they have a really bad season, they could end up in the relegation drop. As for Lazio, I mean, those teams are yet to play, so it's too soon to speak about them. But no, I think Fiorentina. I think I want to make this point. Fiorentina, I feel bad for. Fiorentina are a team that have a good team. They have a good crop of players, but they don't have a good coach. Iachini is out of his depth. He has no business coaching this team. It should be Luciano Spalletti. They should play a 4-3-3 or a 4-2-3-1. And Beppe Iachini is going to get sacked sooner or later. It's because he's not good enough, and I expect and I hope for Fiorentina's sake that this happens sooner rather than later.
So, let's talk about your team, Inter. You've not been happy with a lot of the transfer dealings, transfer business that they've done this season. I think you're looking for a much more younger, fresher outlook, but Conte seems to prefer the more experienced, and he believes in the now. Vidal is, I think, is almost as good as done to join Inter, but I still think that the team is strong enough. And if there was any year Inter deserve or should be winning Scudetto, it is this one.
Well, I mean, I don't. I don't think Inter are going to win the Scudetto. I mean, you have to look at it like this: if Inter are going to win the Scudetto, they need to reduce the gap to Juve, and by reducing the gap to Juve, I don't see how Alexander Kolarov and Arturo Vidal in 2020 do that. Maybe in 2015 or 2013, but it's 2020 now. They don't reduce the gap to Juve. They absolutely do not reduce the gap to Juve. It's wishful thinking. It's cloud cuckoo land to think that the Inter are going to dethrone Juventus with Arturo Vidal and Alexander Kolarov starting. I don't. It's not. It defies logic. So I do think they're going to be a top 4 team, but whether or not they finish in second place, that's or third, that remains to be seen, because the issue of the fact of the matter is that Christian Eriksen is Antonio Conte is still not going to be able to fit. Conte is still unable to fit in Christian Eriksen into his team, which means that Gagliardini is going to play again. And if you think that you're going to win the Scudetto with Roberto Gagliardini, you must be dreaming or be drunk or delusional, because you're not going to win anything with Roberto Gagliardini starting in your midfield. It's just that simple. And it's like, Einstein's quote about repeating the same mistakes and expect, definition of sanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. Well, we've tried the Gagliardini thing for about half a decade now, and it's still not working. And we're going to think that, well, if we bring in, no, it's not going to work. Roberto Gagliardini is not going to win you titles. It's as simple as that. And he's going to start, because, that's what's going to happen. Inter are looking to cash in on Raja Nainggolan because now they've got Arturo Vidal, which again is silly. Why not? Why, if you're going to improve the quality of the squad, then you don't keep Roberto Gagliardini. You get rid of him and you keep Raja Nainggolan and Arturo Vidal. I mean, the Inter are a bit of a mess, to be honest, and they've been a bit of a mess, because it's clear that Achraf Hakimi is a fantastic signing, no doubt about that, and it was done in April. It was made official in July, but it was done in April. Since then, Inter have basically, they signed Stefano Sensi, he was on loan last season, paid 20 million there. So they've spent a bit of money. I understand that, because of COVID, they can't afford more. That makes absolute perfect sense. There's no doubt about that. But it's a clear change of strategy. Alexis Sanchez on a free transfer, brilliant piece of business, because he's a backup player. He will do good. He's only 31. Again, that's great. But bringing in Arturo Vidal and Alexander Kolarov into your starting lineup and expecting to win the Serie A when Juve have clearly strengthened with Kulusevski and Artur Melo is delusional. It's delusional, and it's not related. It's not connected to reality. Inter will not win the Scudetto, and Antonio Conte will start whinging and bitching about not getting, I don't know, he'll find something to whinge and bitch about, because that's what he does. And he'll also be on his last year of contract, which means that's also a shitstorm that's coming. So no, Inter are in quite a bit of a mess, and they've done this to themselves. When you bring in Antonio Conte, this is what happens, and they knew it. Marotta knew it, and I hope that when this inevitably ends in tears, that it doesn't bring down Marotta with him, because Marotta is important for that club. He's done much more good things than bad things. I just hope that Antonio Conte doesn't drag Beppe Marotta with him in the fall, because that's my only hope. I'm kind of already written off this season. to be honest with you,
Wow.
because
Wow.
yeah, no, I mean we're not. Inter might win the Coppa Italia, They might go through to the second round of the Champions League. The only for me the realistic target is to finish top four.
Hmm.
That's the realistic target. And remember, these are the Inter's first four games are Fiorentina, Lazio, Benevento, and Milan. If Inter don't have at least 10 points from those games, there's going to be crisis and there's going to
Hmm.
be pressure. And Antonio Conte doesn't hand pressure well. And
Hmm.
because what he does is he goes out and starts blaming people and throwing people under the bus. Only this time, it's not gonna. Only this time the club have had enough. It's enough is enough. And if they've told him that in no uncertain terms that no more public outbursts. Nobody likes this, and they've given him everything he wants. Now, the only thing they haven't given him is N'Golo Kante, but that's because,
It costs too much.
well, not only that, Antonio Conte declared, left Chelsea in the worst possible way. They'd rather. Why would they make him any favors? He sued the club, for crying out loud, and he won, but he sued them. And he left them in that he didn't burn those bridges. He nuked the bridges with Chelsea. So they're not going to do him a single favor. So
Oh,
this is what happens when you decide to when you behave like a narcissistic crazy person and burn bridges everywhere. It comes to bite you in the ass. And Antonio Conte, although an absolute genius of a tactician, absolute brilliant person, it's never his fault. It's always someone else's fault. It's never his fault. And he throws everyone under the bus and throws temper tantrums, and nobody cares. And at the end of the day, nobody can deal with that. Nobody wants to deal with that. It's not professional. It's draining, and it's not professional. And no one wants to work with you when you do that.
let's round up very quickly. We haven't. Nobody seems to be talking about Atalanta this season.
No, I expect them to do really well. I think Atalanta have signed some really interesting players. I think they'll do. They're in the top four as well. So, no, I'm not surprised at all. I think it's going to end really well there.
Okay, so give me your top four. Who you think will win the Scudetto, your top scorer and player of the season?
Juventus will win. Napoli finish second. Atalanta third. Inter fourth. Milan
Whoa,
fifth. Milan
whoa!
fifth. Milan fifth. Lazio sixth. Roma seventh. Those are the European places. Capocannoniere, I think, is going to be Cristiano Ronaldo ahead of Zlatan Ibrahimovic. Player of the season, one of Artur Melo, Dejan Kulusevski, Zlatan Ibrahimovic. One of those.
Juventus to win the league coming from an Inter fan.
Well, I
Napoli
mean,
to be
yeah,
Atalanta third. Inter fourth.
yeah,
You're the first person that is saying this. I actually have mine almost the other way around. I have Inter to win, um, Juventus to be second. I have a soft spot for Atalanta. A lot of people have said Atalanta are my side chicks these
yeah.
days. I have Atalanta as third, and I have Milan as fourth. I don't think Lazio have the squad depth because this season is a very unusual one. It's going to be a very unusual season. So I don't think they have the squad depth for the full running. So that's why I don't have them in that position. And Napoli, I think they're still there's some gelling still to be done in Napoli, especially if they lose Koulibaly. So that's why I don't have them in my top four.
Yeah, no, I understand. No, I mean it's for me, it's not. I'm not. I'm an Inter fan, but I'm not. I don't like to use the fan. I'm an Inter supporter. Fans are people who worship blindly. I don't worship blindly. I'm objective. I'm an Inter supporter. Yes. I'm not a fanatic. Fanatics are people who throw themselves and with bomb vests and kill themselves because God told them to. I'm not that guy. I'm a supporter, and I objectively look at the facts, and I don't see how Inter are going to dethrone Juve. I really don't. I don't see how I don't see how this midfield is going to be better than Napoli. I don't see how they're going to win. Atalanta having improved, they've not lost anyone. It's going to be tight. It's going to be tight. A lot of teams have strengthened. The Serie A teams have strengthened once more, all of them, and it's going to be tighter. And Inter are in a world of trouble. I really do think so. It's important to get a good start. I mean, I hope I'm wrong. No, don't get me wrong. I hope I'm wrong. I hope Inter win the treble, for crying out loud. But no, I just don't think it's going to happen. I just don't see it happening. Not with the way. No, not with all. There are too many unanswered questions and too many question marks going into the season. For a team to win, you can't have this many question marks. Inter have a myriad of question marks surrounding their squad, and that's not healthy. That's not how you win.
As always, it is always a pleasure to have you join me and talk football, talk Serie A. Thank you so much, Nima. I know it's been a very busy time for you, but thank you for accepting my invitation
My
and
pleasure.
expanding on the conversation around probably the most exciting league in Europe as we speak, Syria. Thank you very
My
much, Nima.
my pleasure. My pleasure.
Have a lovely day. So,
You too.
thank
Take
you
care.
everybody that's joined to watch Syria Outlook after the first set of matches in Syria. On Thursday, please join me. I'll be having Derek Ray, international football commentator Derek Ray, will be joining me to talk about the Bundesliga. The Bundesliga 2 had their first week. Let's see if he will also have interesting comments like Nima. Who knows? Derek might just predict that Dortmund will win the league in the Bundesliga this time around. Thank you very much for everyone that's joined in. Team of the week should drop in the next 5 minutes. So look out for that on Twitter. Thank you very much and have a lovely day.